Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelove, and this is Speedplay Touggourt number 8. So we left off about to go to war with the Portuguese, and conveniently enough, that starts pretty much right away. So unfortunately for these pretender rebels, we're not really in a position to leave them be, so we're going to just destroy them immediately. Luckily, we're pretty comparable to the Portuguese. We might even be more powerful than them. Our navy definitely is. Our army isn't too bad compared to theirs. And since we have a large navy, we can hopefully just divide them and conquer everything that comes up. So we just quickly defeat those pretenders. They are now gone. We'll move our forces over where we can hopefully move them to fronts where they're going to be more useful. Spain is joined, but it's just being destroyed by the French, and we have a new king, which ends the whole succession crisis pretty easily. So, we're just going to move as much of our fleet together as we can and hopefully just keep the Iberians locked in their peninsula. Ultimately, we're going to mostly leave our colonial nations to their own devices and build at least somewhat more ships, not as many as we had planned. We aren't really in that much danger this time around. Our colonial nations may not all get the better side of this fight, but that shouldn't be too concerning. And immediately we blockade the Portuguese. We do have to worry about a bit of a Spanish invasion, but that isn't too concerning. At least not at the moment. In East Asia, we're doing fairly well. We're going to just start moving our forces around and hopefully sieging out the Portuguese. We did lose a naval battle, however, we have enough forces nearby that we won the subsequent one. And luckily, in East Asia, we're able to get our forces onto the Portuguese islands without too much hassle. We do manage to catch the Portuguese trying to land, and hopefully we'll just defeat them and completely end that, which we do. So with that done, we're going to just keep going about the plan. We're just going to keep blockading them as best we can, stopping them from landing forces anywhere, and just generally winning the battles we can. So we're going to move some forces to Sardinia, move the rest of our armies to reinforce. Hopefully we will begin to just seize their islands. We do have a rebel problem. Luckily we have enough forces nearby that it shouldn't be too much of an issue if we can just win that battle, which we don't. But we can just bring forces until we're able to. Sardinia is doing fairly well. We can hopefully move across it. We fight another naval battle and win, and we just start occupying their islands. The war is going fairly well in our favor. We do have to leave our colonies to the natives to an extent. And we do look and make sure there aren't any other colonies of theirs in the area, which it appears there are not. And we do manage to send an army to hopefully defeat the rebels, which it does, and that is fantastic. So with that done, we unfortunately lose a battle in Sardinia, and we just delete the other army so they don't get the war score for that. It was going to die anyway, we may as well just stop that from actually losing us the score. Other than that, we continue sieging out their islands. It's unfortunate that we got that loss and lost that theater, but we can just blockade them on Sardinia and eventually come back with a larger force to destroy them. So we might actually want to peace out with the Spanish, as they are getting a little around our forces. But I am really tempted to just destroy their army instead, and with the sieges completing, we can probably do that with relative ease. Although it is rather tempting to make a pretty quick peace deal, we are just going to continue with the war, and hopefully destroy their army without losing our own. So with that in mind, and unfortunately our colony is damaged because we moved our forces from it, we begin the process of shipping our armies over to Sardinia. Now, if we get enough forces to land there, they won't actually attack us before we land. We have 20,000 men compared to their 14, which is almost certainly enough. I'll build another army just to guarantee success. Although it is quite a lot of men to just throw into that. So I do have a bit of second thoughts. And a peace deal with the Spanish would open us up to more maneuverability against the Portuguese, so we are actually just going to take that peace deal. We do still have a significant force, and with Portugal being the only place we're fighting, we might just be able to land our forces on the Iberian Peninsula, siege out Portugal proper, and just boost our war score immensely without actually having to fight too much. We are also destroying their fleets wherever they're against us, which is great news. And we start bringing our forces over. We do lose a naval battle, though, which is horrible, but not really too much of a concern in the long term. So ideally, we'll be able to land our forces on the Portuguese mainland. However, they have 44,000 men, and they're rather quick to move a significant portion of those men around. So we try to land on the other side, but they're there quicker than we can land, and honestly, I don't want to risk just losing 20,000 men if it won't really get us anything. So with that, it really means that this war is going to drag on for a bit, as if we can't just end it by landing on Portugal proper and we just lost a battle, or a naval battle at least, we might be able to win by going into South America and just aiding our colonial nations who we've so far neglected, but it's going to be a slower and more drawn-out battle. We do win a naval battle, though, which is great. It opens us up to taking over the Philippines, which I didn't actually realize they were on, and probably wouldn't have peaced out with the Spanish if I had realized that that was about to happen. I take the risk, or the gamble, that they don't have any troops on the Philippines. Luckily, that pays off. We move our forces up against the Portuguese Brazilians and win a battle. And ultimately, we are taking a lot of attrition with our navy. We're losing a lot of ships. They're losing more, though, so ultimately, as long as this keeps going the way it is, we don't have anything to worry about. We have pretty much near naval dominance. We don't have enough transports to just go out and kill them by taking over their mainland, but we have enough, and we have enough troops on most of our fronts that it doesn't really matter, and the war is essentially just guaranteed to be won, although slowly. It's really just a matter of the price we're willing to pay, and unfortunately we lose another naval battle, although we win the follow-up, which seems to be the way that this war is going, where we react a little slowly, but are able to, with overwhelming force, make up for it. Meanwhile, we move our forces back to defeat a rogue Portuguese-Brazilian army, and we begin blockading Portugal once more. We do win the battle, and we leave a siege, although it looks like our allies aren't actually dealing with that. We move our force deep into Portuguese Brazil, and we manage to hopefully win that battle. We pull our ships around to blockade more fully. Unfortunately, the battle isn't fantastic. We do have a large amount of forces in East Asia not doing anything, so we can hopefully reassign them. We land more forces in South America, so we can hopefully just overwhelm them. We bring our forces up, and we manage to at least retake that province. We're bringing just all of our forces that we can over into South America. If we can win the war here, it'll be fantastic for us everywhere, as South America is where the war started, and the more we take, the better our war score will be. Our forces from East Asia land in East Africa and begin attacking the Portuguese, and our armies in South America continue to press forward. Although they have a significant force, we're going to fall back and hopefully maintain our position. We're just slowly moving the line forward. Unfortunately, we lose a battle, but we have enough forces that we just drew to the area that we can hopefully win the follow-up. And it looks like it's going to be just a lot of dancing around, which is a bit unfortunate. They attack one of our colonial nation's armies. They lose the battle, but we win the follow-up. In East Africa, we finally managed to push them out. And ultimately, we now have a fairly good position all around the world. They are still a threat, as we just lost that battle in South America. But we have enough forces that we're able to keep winning the follow-up battles consistently. Admittedly, it's a bit of a war of attrition when they win every other battle, but it's a war of attrition that we'll probably end up winning. We also continue our program of sieging out their islands, which is something they can't even begin to fight us about, and this time we actually win the initial battle, which is fantastic news. And our forces just continue moving around towards their islands in part. We do have to worry about a small navy of theirs, but it hopefully won't be too much of a big deal. We lose another battle, however we draw enough forces in that we are able to win the subsequent battle. I feel like I'm going to be saying that quite a bit. However, since their armies are scattered, we are able to win a slew of battles immediately thereafter, and even win the next follow-up significant battle. Now we do have a free idea slot, and I believe a good choice will be trade, as we are becoming a large trading empire, so that will help us in the long run. And ultimately, we're in a fairly good spot. I'm going to try to see if we can just take a significant group of their islands, as realistically I want to cut them off as much as possible from Asia. We won't probably be able to take the Philippines this war, but we should be able to take a large amount of their islands, make them end their relationship with Spain, and get a little bit for our colonial nation, which actually started this whole mess, and do it all for not too much diplomatic power. So with that all done, we begin the process of moving our forces back home and increasing the autonomy in all of the provinces we just took. As, quite frankly, I really don't want to have to send large clumps of my army to fight on individual islands throughout the world. Although, that does bring up a very significant point. The main issue with our ability to fight that war was our lack of transports. Because the Portuguese had so many forces on their mainland and we had relatively few transports, we weren't actually able to decisively win that war. In retrospect, it would have been a much better idea to just invest in the extra transports and immediately go for broke invading Portugal. Although admittedly that plan could have been flawed. We don't actually know, it didn't happen that way. So, in the long term, the best move for Touggourt is probably going to be 1, to replenish our navy after all of the losses it sustained during that war, and 2, get a significantly larger naval transport force. Overall, though, I think this went pretty well. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. We just won our first, well, kind of one-on-one war against a European power. We didn't win decisively, but we won significantly. Thank you very much